One thing that I just want to say before we're done, I've been a little bit shocked this week with how players have been treated by the broadcasters, and I don't think that the guy who mocked Novak, I don't think that was just a single event. I've noticed it with different people, not just myself. I noticed it with Lerner Tien in one of his matches. I think when he beat Medvedev, his post-match interview, I thought it was kind of embarrassing and disrespectful, that interview.
This is American tennis player Ben Shelton. Listen to what he has to say.
There's some comments that have been made to me in post-match interviews by a couple different guys, whether it was, hey, Monfils is old enough to be your dad, maybe he is your dad. Or today on the court, hey, Ben, how does it feel that no matter who you play in your next match, no one's going to be cheering for you? I mean, it may be true, but I just don't think a comment that's respectful from a guy I've never met before in my life. And I feel like broadcasters should be helping us grow our sport and help these athletes who just won matches on the biggest stage enjoy one of their biggest moments. And I feel like there's just been a lot of negativity, and I think that's something that needs to change.
So let's go over what took place to draw a response like this from a professional athlete. After defeating the French legend, Gael Monfils, at the Australian Open, his on-court interview went as follows. Enjoy. Roger Rashid would conduct the session and posited to Shelton that Monfils, at 38 years old, could be his dad. Shelton responded by asking, was that a black joke? Rashid replied, I'm not sure. Rashid at one point coached Gael Monfils. It was a very awkward exchange. This came after broadcaster Tony Jones, with Novak Djokovic's fan stationed behind him, chanted that Novak is overrated and Novak's a has-been and Novak, kick him out. Oh, I'm glad they can't hear me, is what he said in conclusion. Djokovic would then take to Twitter and say this. Hey guys, quick break in the action. I have a new show coming out called The Rick Strom Show. It is going to be awesome. I'm interviewing musicians, athletes, producers, writers, journalists, authors, sports doctors. Go check it out at youtube.com/@TheRickStromShow. Also be sure to throw me a follow on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. It can all be found in the description box below. Thank you.
Hey guys, thank you all for support. Great match again against Lehečka, who's in form. Looking forward to a next matchup with the Carlos, and I just want to take a moment to reflect on what happened on the court. The reason why I did not do an interview that is a common practice after the matches for the winner to do a post-match interview. So just wanted to make sure that I clarify with everyone what happened. The reason why I chose not to do that is because a few days ago, a famous sports journalist here from Australia who works for a main broadcaster of Australian Open at Channel 9 decided to mock Serbian fans, and he made insulting and offensive comments towards me. So I was hoping he's going to apologize in public, which he hasn't done yet. Neither did Channel 9. So that's the only reason why I didn't do the interview. It was, of course, not a great feeling for me, and it was quite awkward on the court. Jim Courier was the one that came out. I have tremendous respect for him, and I always love speaking to Jim. And I know that a lot of people wanted to hear me speak, so I apologize for everyone being on the stadium and not being able to hear me speak, and on the TV as well. But that's the main reason, and I have to stand by, my decision and hold these stands until something is done. So I leave it to Channel 9, and hopefully that situation will change for the next match. All the best.
As you heard from the man himself, Djokovic chose to boycott interviews with Channel 9. Then Jones would issue an apology. Quote, the comments were made on the news on the Friday night, which I consider to be banter. I consider it to be humor, which is consistent with most things I do, whether it be the Sunday footy show, whether it be the morning show here. He'd go on to say this, as transcribed by CNN. Having said that, I was made aware on the Saturday morning from Tennis Australia via the Djokovic camp that the Djokovic camp was not happy at all with those comments Now, as such, I immediately contacted the Djokovic camp and issued an apology to them for any disrespect that Novak felt that I had caused. So, I mean, I understand where Jones was coming from. It just was pretty off-putting. Like, it just didn't feel right. You also got to know, like, the athletes today are going to see everything. And they're going to take it a certain way. It should be stated that the Australian Prime Minister even weighed in on this. I don't know if that was warranted or not, but they did. And this drew a lot of headlines in Australia. But there's more. On Shelton's point of, hey, Ben, how does it feel that no matter who you play in your next match, no one is going to be cheering for you on that front? He's referring to an interview from James Sherry after defeating Lorenzo Sonego. The quote reads, "You're going to play either Yannick Sinner or Alex de Minaur. The crowd are going to be Alex de Minaur, are going to be on the other guy's side for that, aren't they?" Ben Rothenberg would write, "Shelton laughed nervously and tried to play along." Shelton would reference the interview with Lerner Teen after defeating the highly ranked Daniil Medvedev. John Fitzgerald, a former player turned broadcaster, did not necessarily ask questions more than just giving statements and comments. One of them was, 19-year-olds are not meant to be that good. Teen literally didn't know how to respond. Rothenberg has more of the exchange that could only be described as unorthodox and awkward, and I'm going to leave that all up for you. What I'll say is this, all right? There are many different instances where I have been in a position from doing play-by-play, from being a reporter, from serving as a writer and journalist in different press rooms, speaking to different athletes and what have you, whether it is a press conference, whether it is one-on-one, whether it is exit interviews in the clubhouse, what have you. There are ways to go about it. The on-court interview, though, is rather unique because you're not surrounded, with a bunch of other reporters and media members. It's just you. And Rothenberg brings up a good point that it's a lot of it is about rapport with the athlete, and I agree to a certain extent. It's also like it seems simplistic, though it is quite difficult, but it needs to be simplified in this way. You ask a question. This is not a time for gotcha moments. This is a time to get a few answers out of the subject and then get out and leave. What Fitzgerald did was bad because he put Tien, who is rather young, in a position that maybe Tien is not as media trained as a Shelton to give more long-winded answers where they're put in an uncomfortable spot. There needs to be a Q&A. And one of the things that drives me crazy is when you will hear, journalists, reporters, writers, etc., say, talk about. Can you talk about? Well, yeah, they could talk about it. Do you want to ask a question? Ask a more succinct question. Ask a better question. This comes with years of training. So, look, man, the Rashid interview was really bad. It just was. The Lerner Teen interview, awkward. Bad. The Novak Djokovic situation, also pretty odd, quite honestly. Really odd. And what I would say to all of this is there has to be improvement. Because you're not supposed to put down the athlete, especially when you're on a, friendly broadcast that carries the entire tournament. If you can and are willing, please become a paid member here at TYT Sports. And or go to tyt.com/join. In addition, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate it. Have a great day.